Helen sat comfortably in the hallway, her eyes shining with excitement as she clutched the concert tickets tightly. When Christina came out of the office, Helen burst out, "Christina, guess what? We're finally going to see them perform live." Christina stopped at the doorway, her face clouded with worry. "Helen, I have some bad news." "I can't go," Christina said, avoiding Helen's eyes. "I have something important to take care of." Helen playfully teased, "Oh, is it a secret date you haven't told me about?" Christina chuckled softly. "No, it's not a date." But when Helen pressed on, Christina turned serious. "So, what's the reason? We've been so excited for this." Christina looked uncomfortable. "Please, let's just drop it." But Helen couldn't let it go. While Christina went to get some water, Helen noticed a prescription on the coffee table. Unable to resist, she glanced at the paper. "She's Mrs. Emily Foster," Helen murmured quietly. Emily was Christina's ex-husband's mother. When Christina returned, Helen asked her, "Why are you still helping your ex-husband's mother, Christina? You've been divorced for a long time. Why do you keep her in your life?" Christina paused before replying with a gentle smile. "Emily has always been good to me. Right now, she needs someone, and that someone is me. I just think you deserve better. You're so caring, and you're still alone. You deserve happiness," Helen said softly. Christina responded, "Taking care of Emily gives me a different kind of happiness, Helen." On the surface, Helen and Christina's friendship appeared genuine, but underneath, it was more like a faint reflection of true companionship. Hidden in their interactions was a bond tainted by manipulation and selfish motives. Christina, kind and trusting, often overlooked Helen's behavior, hoping for the best. Yet deep down, she felt the imbalance in their relationship. Whenever they went out together, Helen made sure she stood out. From her carefully chosen outfits to her attention-grabbing comments and the places she liked to go, everything seemed designed to overshadow Christina and keep her in the background. The incident with the concert tickets was a clear example. Helen boasted about getting tickets to a popular concert without considering if it was something Christina would enjoy. But what hurt Christina even more were their social gatherings. Helen often made remarks about Christina being single, and at parties, she would parade Christina around to single men, speaking with a tone of pity as if Christina needed fixing. Christina could see through Helen's actions. Helen wasn't trying to help Christina find happiness. She was using her as a prop to draw attention to herself. Christina often felt like she was just there to enhance Helen's social image. Christina was a kind person who found it hard to say no to invitations, even when she didn't really want to go. She usually went along with her friends' plans to avoid upsetting anyone. But today was different. She had another commitment she couldn't ignore. As they neared the bridge where they would part ways, Helen's concern for Christina was palpable. Christina paused, gathering her thoughts, and spoke gently, "Helen, I appreciate your concern for me. I believe that someday I'll find the right person. Please go ahead and enjoy yourself. Today, I need to head in a different direction." Taking a deep breath of the cold, crisp air, Christina's mind shifted to Emily, her former mother-in-law. Normally, Emily would have started the furnace by now. But if she was suffering from one of her painful migraines and high blood pressure episodes, she would likely be in bed. This meant the house would be even colder, especially with the sharp winter chill outside. Feeling a sense of urgency, Christina picked up her pace toward the bus stop. Their home was modest, a small house they moved into after her ex-husband's irresponsible decisions cost them their previous apartment. Checking her watch, she calculated she had about 20 minutes before the bus arrived. With her week's earnings in hand, Christina decided to stop by the pharmacy to pick up some much-needed medication. "Christina, dear, how are things with you and Emily?" Margaret, the kind-hearted pharmacist who had known Emily for years, greeted her warmly. "Hi, Margaret. Things are pretty much the same, nothing new," Christina replied with a faint smile. "Christina, Emily is lucky to have you. Despite everything, you've stayed by her side," Margaret said, her eyes showing admiration. Christina replied softly, "Emily is like family to me." Margaret shook her head slightly, a mix of disbelief and sympathy crossing her expression. "I'll never understand how a woman as good-hearted as Emily could have raised such a son," Christina thought to herself as she picked up her medications and thanked Margaret before leaving the pharmacy. Her mind was heavy with thoughts. Christina had always believed in serendipity. The day she met Stephen at a local coffee shop, their eyes locked, and it felt like fate had brought them together. The connection between them was undeniable. They started dating soon after, and as time passed, Christina fell deeply in love with him. 6 months flew by in a whirlwind. One evening, as they watched the sunset from their favorite beach spot, Stephen nervously proposed. Christina's heart raced with happiness, and she said yes instantly. But she couldn't help but mention that she hadn't yet met Stephen's parents. Understanding her concern, Stephen took her to meet his mother the next weekend. Emily welcomed them warmly with a smile and open arms. Christina was surprised at how quickly she connected with Emily. They talked for hours, shared stories, and by the end of the day, it felt like they had known each other for years. Emily's fondness for Christina was clear from the way she looked at her, her eyes shining with approval. A few weeks later, Christina received an unexpected call from Emily. She sounded both eager and nervous, asking Christina to come visit her. As Christina arrived, she sensed something was wrong. Over a pot of tea, Emily took a deep breath and revealed something shocking. Stephen had been married twice before. It was a lot for Christina to process. She listened carefully, emotions swelling inside her. What struck her most was the genuine concern in Emily's voice. "He's my son, and I love him," Emily began, "but I don't want to see you get hurt." Christina was taken aback and puzzled. It wasn't common for a mother to share such personal details about her son. Nonetheless, she thanked Emily for being honest. Despite the revelation, Christina shared that Stephen had always been kind and loving towards her. They ended their conversation with an embrace, understanding each other's perspectives. As Christina stepped out after her conversation with Emily, her mind swirled with conflicting emotions. In the days that followed, she spent time reflecting deeply. She chose not to confront Stephen, holding on to her belief that everyone deserves a chance at redemption and that past mistakes should be left behind. Stephen's daily actions showed him as devoted, considerate, and genuinely loving towards her. Time passed swiftly, and soon they were exchanging vows surrounded by loved ones, including a tearful Emily, beginning their journey as a married couple. Christina would occasionally think back to her heart-to-heart with Emily, which reminded her of the importance of trust, honest communication, and the understanding that everyone carries their own history. Yet, Christina couldn't forget that crucial moment. Their modest home now stood as a reminder of what had transpired. Stephen, driven by ambitious dreams, had convinced Christina to sell their apartment and invest the money in what seemed like a promising business venture. Even worse, he had persuaded Emily, his trusting mother, to do the same. As time went on, Stephen eventually came clean about the harsh reality. Not only had he lost all the money from their apartment sale, but he had also plunged them deep into debt. Both Emily and Christina felt the crushing weight of betrayal. They were overwhelmed not only by their shattered trust, but also by the relentless calls from creditors demanding repayment. In Christina's heart, she held on to the belief that their struggles were just the normal challenges any young family might face. She hoped they would overcome their difficulties and things would improve. But lurking beneath this optimism was a growing sense of unease, casting a shadow over their already strained household. Within the first year of their marriage, the pressure of not conceiving began to strain their relationship. Both Christina and Stephen had dreamed of having children together. Christina tried to stay positive and supportive, but Stephen's patience wore thin. He hesitated to see a doctor, driven by a mix of fear and traditional ideas linking masculinity with fertility. One cold evening, after yet another quiet dinner, Stephen's pent-up emotions exploded. "Maybe you're the reason we can't have a family," he accused. Christina was shocked and hurt by his unfounded blame, especially since they hadn't even taken the first step of seeking medical advice. Their once harmonious home was now marred by frequent arguments. The warmth and closeness they once shared had vanished, replaced by a cold distance. The breaking point came when Stephen, in a desperate move, confessed he was involved with another woman, hoping she could give him the family he desired. Christina's world shattered. The love and trust she had invested in Stephen felt like a distant memory. Raised with traditional values, Christina had always believed in the enduring commitment of marriage and the promise of a lifetime together. Stephen wasn't just her husband, he was her first and only love. Emily was furious when she found out the truth. How could you leave someone so genuine? She demanded of Stephen. Over the years, Emily had grown to see Christina as the daughter she never had. Her son's actions felt like a betrayal, not just to Christina, but to Emily as well. Yet, Stephen, driven by his desires, turned away and walked out. He eventually married the other woman. As time passed, his new wife made no effort to visit or connect with Emily. Feeling abandoned by her son and disregarded by his new wife, Emily struggled with deep loneliness and sadness. Christina could sense the pain and longing in Emily's eyes. After a moment of silence, Emily motioned for Christina to sit beside her, and she began to recount a story from her past. Christina, when I was around your age, I was engaged to a kind man named Howard. He was the love of my life. I also had a close friend named Lucy, or so I thought. As our wedding plans were underway, I discovered that Howard had fallen in love with Lucy. To make matters worse, Lucy became pregnant with his child. The betrayal was devastating. Both the man I loved and my supposed best friend had shattered my world. Heartbroken, I watched as they left town to start a new life together. However, a few years later, I received an unexpected call from Lucy. She was distraught and confessed that Howard had left her. Struggling as a single mother, lonely and filled with regrets, she often turned to alcohol to cope. While I felt sorry for her situation, it was the thought of their young son that truly weighed heavily on my heart. Lucy became very sick very quickly. When she knew she didn't have much time left, she asked me to take care of her son, Stephen. I felt a strong connection with him right away, even though he reminded me of a painful time in my past. I couldn't leave him alone, especially after Lucy died. Her last wish was for me to always be there for Stephen. I agreed wholeheartedly, having grown to really care about the boy. Christina listened, tears filling her eyes as she understood how deeply Emily cared and how their lives were connected through their pasts. "Why, Christina?" Emily asked, surprised. In a quiet voice, Christina replied, "Oh, Emily," feeling the strong parallels in their stories. Both had suffered betrayal from people they had trusted and loved deeply. It seemed like history was repeating itself, binding them together through shared pain. Christina was devastated to see how neglecting Stephen affected Emily, causing her to become frequently ill. Eventually, Emily suffered a stroke. Many friends suggested moving Emily to a specialized care center, arguing that Christina might not be equipped to handle Emily's condition, especially since they weren't biologically related. When Emily could speak again, she even suggested the idea herself, perhaps to ease Christina's burden. But Christina was determined. She saw Emily as family and was committed to caring for her. Christina firmly believed that with enough love and attention, Emily could recover and regain her ability to walk, despite what doctors said. One day, Christina gently asked Emily, "Have you ever thought about trying to find Howard?" Emily paused for a moment, then sighed. "I loved Howard deeply, but I never tried to find him. I thought, why should I? He probably had a family of his own by then." As the shuttle reached her stop, she stepped off and began walking home. Seeing smoke rising from her chimney briefly calmed her. It meant Emily had managed to light the stove. But her relief faded quickly. An ambulance parked outside the house, covered in frost, hinted it had been there for a while. Panic gripped her, and she hurried her steps, filled with anxious thoughts. Entering the house with her heart racing, she learned Emily had suffered another stroke. When Emily finally woke up, she felt a dull ache on her left side. Trying to move her fingers, she found them heavy and unresponsive. Blinking against the bright hospital lights, memories from the previous night started to return. Christina's urgent voice, the ambulance lights, and the comforting presence of the paramedics. By Emily's bedside sat a familiar figure. When Emily attempted to speak, her words came out unclearly. Christina looked up, her deep blue eyes filled with warmth like the ocean, instantly calming Emily's anxiety. "Don't worry," Christina's voice was gentle, soft as a feather. "The doctors said it might be hard for you to talk for a while, but I'm here with you." Emily blinked, trying to express gratitude silently. Seeing her confusion, Christina reassured her, "You had another stroke, but you were strong enough to call for help." Despite advice from friends and colleagues, Christina quit her job. Many couldn't understand why she'd care for the mother of someone who had hurt her deeply. But for Christina, it wasn't just that. She imagined herself in Emily's place, facing loneliness and health struggles. She knew she'd hoped for someone by her side, just as she was for Emily now. Christina's empathy surpassed old grievances. She stood by Emily despite what others thought. Gradually, Emily grew stronger. Christina supported her through tough weeks, cheering her on in speech therapy, holding her hand for shaky steps, and sharing joyful moments like dancing to old tunes in the living room. Returning to her job, Christina found a new management team led by Eddie, the company's new owner. Eddie stood out for his interest in understanding his employees, taking time to learn about their backgrounds and stories. When he heard about Christina's unwavering dedication to an elderly woman, he was deeply moved by her compassion. Word spread quickly about Christina's commitment to someone not related to her by blood, and Eddie found her actions truly inspiring. However, what Eddie didn't know was the true depth of their connection. The elderly woman wasn't just anyone, she was Christina's mother-in-law. Christina stood out among Eddie's employees. From day one, she displayed a level of dedication and discipline that set her apart. Eddie admired her work ethic, but also felt a keen curiosity about who Christina was beyond the office walls. She kept her personal life private, rarely engaging in office gossip, which added an air of mystery around her. Amidst the bustling office environment, Helen stood out like the busiest bee in a hive. She knew everyone and everything, her bubbly personality lighting up every room she entered. Whether chatting in the break room or waiting by the elevators, she was always engrossed in lively conversations, sipping her coffee and laughing freely. While most found Helen's energy infectious and relied on her for updates and anecdotes, Eddie occasionally felt overwhelmed by her constant chatter. He often wondered how Helen balanced her social interactions with her workload. Yet, true to form, Helen always managed, even if it meant putting in extra hours now and then. On a particularly busy day, a critical project landed on their desks. Eddie, in his role as team leader, had to delegate tasks. Without hesitation, he assigned the most challenging parts to Christina, trusting her impressive track record. Helen received a smaller but still crucial portion. Days passed, and Christina steadily progressed through her tasks. Eddie checked in with her occasionally, always receiving a confident nod of assurance. Meanwhile, Helen struggled to keep up. Her frequent breaks and conversations began to affect her productivity. As the deadline approached, tension gripped the office. One day, Eddie walked into the kitchen and found Helen visibly upset, her face buried in her hands. Concerned, he approached her gently. "Is everything all right, Helen?" Looking up, tears in her eyes, she admitted, "I've fallen behind, Eddie. I thought I could handle it." Eddie tried to reassure her, saying, "Don't worry, we'll figure something out." As Christina stepped into the kitchen to refill her coffee, she noticed Helen's distress and paused. "I can help out once I finish my part," she offered, surprising both Helen and Eddie. When Christina submitted her portion of the project, Eddie was astonished. Not only had she completed her tasks meticulously, but she had also gone above and beyond, providing insightful recommendations that hadn't been considered before. On a particularly stressful day soon after, Christina found a surprise on her desk, a vibrant bouquet of flowers. She paused, looking around, half expecting someone to realize they'd made a mistake. The colorful blooms brightened her workspace, leaving her wondering who had thought of her in such a kind way. Helen, usually in the know about office gossip, thought she had her finger on the pulse of everything, from office romances to secret admirers. But the bouquet on Christina's desk caught her off guard. While Helen enjoyed being the office's information hub, it was unusual to see someone as reserved as Christina unexpectedly become the topic of conversation. Christina puzzled over the bouquet, the delicate card nestled among the petals bearing a sweet message in tidy handwriting, "For the light you bring, even when you're not aware." Yet there was no name, no clue to the sender's identity. Sane from procurement couldn't resist teasing her, grinning mischievously as he said, "Looks like someone's taken a shine to you," giving her a playful wink. Flustered, Christina replied, "I really have no idea who could have sent them." Throughout the morning, Christina's desk became the center of attention. Speculations flew, jokes were made, and everyone seemed to have a theory about the mystery admirer. Helen, eager to reclaim her role as the office gossip, playfully suggested, "Maybe it's from that charming new guy in finance," nodding towards a young man in a wheelchair. Soon, others chimed in, offering their humorous guesses about Christina's secret admirer. By noon, the buzz around Christina and the flowers became overwhelming. While she appreciated the gesture, the constant attention disrupted her usually quiet day. Needing a break from the chatter, she decided to slip away for a peaceful lunch outside. A few days later, Christina was deeply focused on her work when a courier suddenly appeared at her desk, holding an extravagant basket of flowers. "Christina?" he asked. She looked up in surprise and nodded. "Yes, that's me." He handed her a slip. "Please sign here." After placing the luxurious flowers on the floor, the courier hurriedly left. Helen, always drawn to drama, couldn't resist coming over to examine the bouquet. Though she tried to hide it, there was a hint of envy in Helen's eyes. "Another surprise for you, Christina. What's the story behind this one?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity and skepticism. Despite being younger and considering herself more attractive, Helen couldn't understand why Christina was receiving such attention. "I honestly don't know," Christina replied, feeling a bit embarrassed. "It could be a mistake." Helen smirked. "I've never heard about any romantic interests in your life. Did you order these for yourself, pretending someone's interested?" As Helen inspected the flowers, she commented on their expensive appearance, not bothering to engage with Christina's response. Christina continued to focus on her work, leaving the mystery of the flowers unsolved. Every day, like clockwork, a new bouquet appeared at her desk. The office buzzed with whispers and giggles, fueled by Helen's quick remarks. Some colleagues teased Christina with playful gestures, implying she might be buying the flowers herself to feel special. "Maybe she's splurging on these to make herself look good," they whispered. "Who spends so much on flowers just for attention?" Feeling increasingly isolated, Helen avoided Christina altogether, refusing to speak to her. Though Christina noticed the cold treatment, she chose to ignore it. Let them think what they want, she decided. However, the constant flower deliveries started to disrupt her concentration at work. It wasn't the flowers themselves, but the relentless gossip surrounding them that began to affect her. Christina, on the verge of leaving for lunch, was taken aback when a man suddenly held the main door open for her. "Excuse me," she stammered, surprised by the gesture. The man, dressed in a chauffeur's uniform, guided her to a sleek sedan parked in front of the office building and courteously opened the passenger door for her. Christina felt as if she were in a dream. Was this really happening? She pinched herself to confirm it was real. Finally gathering her thoughts, she couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. "Excuse me, sir, but what's going on? What does all this mean? Who's behind all of this?" she asked, her voice filled with confusion. The driver looked momentarily puzzled but then smiled warmly. "You'll find out soon enough, madame. Please take a seat in the car." The entire experience felt surreal, like a scene from a movie, leaving Christina both anxious and excited about what would unfold next. The car glided smoothly to one of the city's most elegant restaurants. Soft lights illuminated the grand entrance, and as Christina stepped inside, she was welcomed by the gentle buzz of conversation. A smiling waiter recognized her immediately and gestured for her to follow. They navigated through tables until Christina spotted a figure seated in a secluded corner. His back was turned, heightening her anticipation. Who could it be, and why this secretive meeting? Approaching the table, her heart raced. Before she could utter a word, the man turned around and greeted her warmly. "Hello, Christina. Please join me." To her astonishment, it was Eddie, the company's new owner. The soft candlelight illuminated his features, and his gentle smile added to Christina's mix of surprise, curiosity, and nervousness. When Eddie first heard about Christina's compassionate actions towards her former mother-in-law, he was genuinely amazed. Such acts of kindness were rare, and he found it hard to believe at first. Wanting to confirm the story himself, he decided to visit Emily while Christina was at work. He introduced himself as a colleague from Christina's office, checking in to see if her absence from work was legitimate. As the company owner, Eddie believed understanding his employees' character and values was crucial. When he met Emily and saw firsthand that everything he had heard about Christina's dedication and kindness was true, his respect for her grew immensely. Beyond professional curiosity, Eddie also had a personal interest in Christina. Despite his mother's persistent urging for him to settle down, Eddie had remained single for years. Eddie would often express his frustration with how many people seemed to prioritize material wealth over genuine emotions and connections. For him, what mattered most was a person's inner character and values. Learning about Christina's selfless actions towards Emily only deepened his admiration and respect for her. During their lunch together, Christina couldn't help but chuckle. "You really went all out with those flowers, didn't you?" Eddie looked a bit sheepish. "I'm sorry if it was overwhelming. I just felt you deserved something beautiful every day." He paused, then admitted, "Honestly, I wasn't sure how to approach you directly. I've never really tried to pursue someone before, so I may have gone a bit overboard with the flowers as a way to show my interest." Christina shook her head with a smile. "Thanks to your gesture, there's now a running joke in the office that I've been sending them to myself." Eddie burst into laughter, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "I guess we've certainly given them something to talk about, haven't we?" During their lunch together, Christina felt compelled to open up about her past. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Before we go any further, there's something I need to tell you. I was married once before." Eddie looked at her with compassionate eyes and a reassuring smile. "I already know," he replied softly. "Your past is a part of who you are, but it doesn't define your present. We all have our stories." Her heart eased knowing Eddie accepted her past without judgment, focusing on who she was now. As Eddie and Christina spent more time together, they approached their relationship with cautious optimism. Christina, having experienced the challenges of a failed marriage, was hesitant to rush into anything. They agreed to keep their growing connection private for now. With Emily recovering well, Christina felt like she was living a dream. Everything seemed to fall into place. However, when Eddie mentioned the possibility of promoting her, she declined immediately. She preferred to avoid office scrutiny and gossip. "I appreciate your offer to support me, but let's keep it low-key," she told him. Eddie respected her decision, finding even more admiration for her integrity. He felt fortunate to have found someone genuine and grounded to share his life with. However, secrets have a way of coming out. One day, a colleague saw Eddie and Christina being affectionate outside of work. Word quickly spread around the office, sparking rumors about their relationship. When Helen heard the gossip, she was furious. She confronted Christina, bombarding her with questions. Christina stayed calm and didn't say anything, which only made Helen more suspicious. Helen became jealous and decided to ruin Christina's reputation. Helen started making up stories about Christina, claiming that her ex-husband had left her because she was irresponsible with money. Helen had been jealous for a while and had tried to win Eddie over with her charm, but he wasn't interested. Whenever Helen flirted with Eddie or invited him to dinner, he politely declined, saying he was too busy. One day, Helen stormed into Eddie's office looking angry. "I can't believe you're considering a relationship with Christina," she said. "Do you even know about her past? She was married, and her financial mistakes caused her husband to leave her and their apartment. You're risking everything by being with someone like her." Eddie remained calm, armed with the truth he had uncovered. "I know about Christina's marriage," he said, standing up and moving towards the window. "I also know why her husband left her. He left her for another woman." Eddie paused, turning back to face Helen with a steady gaze. "That woman was you, Helen." Helen was shocked and speechless, her face showing a mix of disbelief and surprise. She never expected her secret to come out, but Eddie had done his homework thoroughly. He had talked to Emily and then tracked down Christina's ex-husband, Stephen, offering him money in exchange for the truth. Stephen was willing to talk once there was money on the table, Eddie continued. The room fell silent, filled with the weight of the exposed truth. Helen's schemes had finally caught up with her, unraveling in that moment of stark revelation. Helen, known for her talkative nature, had fallen silent. Christina, always optimistic about people, worried about her former close friend. When Helen suddenly stopped showing up at work, Christina felt a sense of sadness. Eddie explained to Christina that Helen had decided to move away and start over. Meanwhile, Christina had an important event approaching, meeting Eddie's mother, Grace, a significant milestone for any couple. Since Christina's own parents were no longer alive, she brought Emily, her former mother-in-law, to dinner with her. Grace was poised and attentive, her years of meticulous work as an accountant evident in her sharp gaze. When Christina introduced Emily to Grace, the two women immediately connected. They had both experienced much in life, and as the evening went on, they shared stories, laughed together, and found comfort in each other's company. Eddie and Christina could see a beautiful friendship blossoming between Emily and Grace. As Christina became more involved in Eddie's business ventures, their professional collaboration drew attention in the office. What had started as whispers soon became open discussions, and before long, everyone knew about their romance. That night, they were the talk of the office, but this time it was all positive. In the nearly empty parking lot on New Year's Eve, Christina noticed a familiar car. Most of their colleagues had left to celebrate with their families. Christina was finishing up her final report when Eddie surprised her, stepping out from behind the car with a large bouquet of white roses. "Come on, it's New Year's Eve. Let's leave work behind," Eddie teased, laughing. Christina smiled. "I'm sorry, love. Just needed to finish this last report." Later, at Eddie's cozy home, they shared a special dinner together. In a quiet moment, Emily stood up, tears in her eyes as she looked deeply at Christina, her voice filled with emotion. "I may have lost Stephen, but in his place, I gained a precious daughter and a wonderful son." Fast forward 2 months, Eddie and Christina were happily married. 4 months after that, Christina decided to resign from her job, despite Eddie gently encouraging her. The couple had even more joyful news. They were expecting a baby. Christina's journey showed how resilience and kindness can shape a life. Despite facing challenges, she held on to the values her parents had instilled in her: always help others and be kind. As the saying goes, kindness has a way of coming back to you, sometimes even more than you give.